This episode is sponsored by Bigger City. Thank you so much for supporting us and helping our show to grow.
Hello, and welcome to the Big Fat Gay Podcast, where we talk about the things that are weighing on our minds. I'm Trevor Keyson. I'm a super chub, and today I am a, festive fall boy. We're past Halloween. We're in that sweet spot before Christmas. Our Christmas lights are up, and I am ready to turn them on. I found myself singing some Christmas music this morning. And then having to stop myself, but I'm ready.
Yeah, you can't do that until the turkey's dead for Thanksgiving. Come on.
Trevor is
At least
officially
wait for the stuffing to be cold, you know?
Mm-hmm. Trevor is officially jingle belled.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Michael Willer. I'm a chubby chaser, and today I suppose I am a cool weather boy. It's finally cooled off here in the greater Vegas area, and it is gorgeous and nice. It's a balmy 67 degrees.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, it cools right off.
Nice.
It cools right off.
I was going to think, what, you're in the double digits?
Down, we've plunged to the upper double digits. Yeah.
Hey, my name's Don Marshall. I'm a big chubby guy living here in sunny Hollywood, and today I am a classic movie boy. I went to see The Bride of Frankenstein at the Ace Theater in hotel downtown, performed with the original soundtrack being performed live by the LA Pops. It was really
wonderful.
wonderful.
That's always great. The live accompaniment.
And if any of you come to LA and you want a good performance, find out what's playing at the Ace Theater. Oh my God, that space is so amazing. It's you step into the space, the entire theater is this 1930s Art Deco take on Dante's Inferno all the way through.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. It's beautiful.
How is the seating?
I was not squeezed.
Okay.
They didn't have,
I'm thinking classic 1930s seating as well.
Yeah, it's
exactly.
bigger than I expect from 1930 seating, but not awesome. But the performance I was there at, the front two rows had been removed, and they had chairs set up there that were brought in special for the occasion that were not attached to each other, so you could move them apart.
Well, stay tuned for another follow-up on seating, but who is that fourth voice on our podcast?
Oh.
Hi.
Oh, hi, there he is.
Hi.
Hello.
It's me.
All right, I guess we have to let him say hello. Go, Dan. Go, Dan.
Come on.
Hi. Oh, my goodness. Well.
Trevor, go slap the Dan. I think he's stuck.
My name is Dan Oliverio, author, public speaker, and chubby chaser.
Yay.
And today, yes, we are definitely enjoying our autumnal surroundings.
We also had a British listener comment about the cider thing.
Yeah.
Oh, what'd they say?
My opinion as a Brit on the cider thing is that, yes, it's just one of those things that Americans decided to change. Cider is alcohol usually.
Yeah.
I have to say, as a non-drinker of cider, whenever I hear cider, I think alcohol. Otherwise, it's apple juice.
Mm-hmm. Let's get into some housekeeping because we got a lot. We had
house.
Halloween and we got a lot to clean up.
So many wrappers all over the floor.
As always, thank you to our Patreon supporters, our
Thank you.
gentle listeners. Our sponsors of various kinds and formats. Mm-hmm. As we mentioned last week, send us your fat-friendly home tips, or even just like if you don't have a tip, but you have something you run into at a particular friend or family member's house, we can come together and figure that out.
That includes things that you want to do around your house to make your own living better, or things you wish your friends might do when you're visiting their home.
Or things that really don't work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and noting like what might make you think, oh, I've been to that friend's house, and that's a scary subject. Going to the bathroom, I think, is probably a pretty common one.
Yeah,
we've all had that wonderful friend whose company we enjoy and whose house we're terrified of breaking. So,
and don't worry if you feel like your answer might be a duplicate or something we've already mentioned. That's fine, because if you include a little story about why that's the case, that's also always worth sharing and telling. So
we love a good
like
story.
This. That's exactly. And that, you've got a little time to send that in. We're going to talk about that next week, I believe. Is that right, Trevor?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So next week. So send them on in. Oh, and before anybody forgets, on December 3rd, we're going to be hosting a big fat gay holiday spectacular live on Zoom / maybe Riverside. We haven't figured out where yet, but whatever works best. It'll be on December 3rd, which is a Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is Los Angeles and Las Vegas time. And hopefully that works for everybody. It seemed to work out well the last time we did one of these, and it's been a while. I think it's been over a year. So we're excited to do that. Come join us. We'll share holiday tips and present ideas and anything else you can think of, and hang out and drink. I think we're going to do like a seasonal drink that we can, going into it, we can all like make the drink and then sip it together and enjoy. Yes. And so we, I said a couple episodes ago, sometimes you have to kind of, make the season yourself. You can't just sort of wait for the season to come to you. And I think this could be a good way to start those final holiday weeks of the year. Okay. Is that all of it?
Take us into pop culture, baby.
God, please.
All right.
Hats off. Da, 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 da. Hats off and wave. Flourish.
It's a beautiful half second of lag between the music in my ears and Trevor singing.
So I want to get us into this. I think this is just the silliest article in the world. And where would you find the silliest article in the world?
Brought to you by The Sun.
The Sun. Okay, so
The Sun, desperately trying to justify our existence.
and it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's kind of it's just like, okay, whatever. So there is a wonderful plus size influencer and workout person, and she has videos of herself doing really very good exercise, like Bulgarian split squats. Like, I'm impressed. I can't do those. Those are
Her name is Bethy Red. And
Bethy Red, and that's beyond my capabilities. And she's she's in her shapewear, workout wear. And what is she getting? Trolled. She's getting trolled because apparently her workout gear is going to give her a heart attack. People say
No. It's going to give other people,
who might
other people
view
heart
her a heart attack.
other people. Oh, did I misunderstand
Because
that?
they're so nauseated by or shocked by what she's wearing.
Oh my God, it's worse than I thought.
I mean, to be fair, these are the kind of like new.
They are booty
Yes.
pants.
They
are
booty
like
pants
all up
that-
in there.
When I opened the article, I'll admit, for a split second, I'm like, why is she doing squats naked?
Yeah, because they're flesh colored and or her
That's all.
flesh colored.
But it was like literally half a second.
But she is not the first person in the world to wear, ass hugging, flesh toned leggings. Like she didn't invent this by any means.
well, and she is strong and she's doing the exercises correctly.
Holy crap, is she strong. Dan, what's the
Yeah.
exercise called when you're reclined and you have to thrust your pelvis upwards?
Hip thrust.
Yeah, hip thrust. She has it looks like 150 pounds of weight on a bar that she's hip thrusting. I was stunned.
Yeah,
she is no amateur. Like, she knows what she's doing, and
Brick
people
shit
are
has
just
supplies.
shitting on
But
it.
oh my God, she's fat. How terrible. It's
Yeah.
just,
I have to say, I think she is low key trolling by wearing
totally.
the flesh color leggings.
The
And I
video
just-
that got posted that she posted on TikTok is her after the backlash, having posted another video wearing the same pants with "Oops, I did it again" in the background of the video.
good for her.
But just a trigger warning for people who may click this link and watch the video. The video that loaded immediately afterwards, for my viewing at least, was a weight loss video.
Of course.
So
It's in the sidebars. It's everywhere.
What a shock.
yeah, just know that going in and maybe click away.
And we should also make sure to say that, part of her brand is this is not for weight loss. This is exercise. This is for whatever you use exercise for, but not weight loss. Like, that's not her goal.
It's everything you would want in a. Is fatfluencer a word? It should
I like
be
that.
if it's not.
Yeah.
It is now.
Influencer, I like that. Okay, I am super excited about this next article because we talked about
my
it in our
God.
last episode.
Yeah.
From what was this from? Bicycling Magazine. Be quiet, trolls. We're trying to start the body positive cycling revolution. It's a whole article about fat people getting into biking, and I've mentioned in the past, I haven't biked in 30 years. Right. And I used to really enjoy it, but It hurt. My butt was always sore because that bike seat was unfriendly. I lived in hilly areas and I was always having to do it alone. And this is basically a biking group that's providing the resources to find the bikes you need, the biking products that would make it more fun for you and less painful, and some resources to find people to bicycle with. I think this is great.
It starts with a story about a fellow named Daniel Ramirez, who is a former UCI pro road cyclist, which I'm not familiar with the world of competitive cycling, but I'm assuming that's of note. He came in 28th in the national championships in Cuba, and more recently won, oh my God, Cat 3 level in local crit and road races in the US. I don't know what that means, but I'm assuming it's impressive.
Yeah.
And that was where this backlash started, because he is a little fatter than all the other cyclists.
The point is he's winning competitive races and getting trolled because he doesn't look like what they think he should look like as a cyclist.
And for his
let's just
size
repeat
and his
that.
race.
Yes.
He's doing it. He is performing the skill and succeeding, and then getting trolled for how he looks while he's successfully doing it.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing it right, Don, you won't be fat anymore.
Yeah. And he's also
God.
gotten trolled because of his race. It's yeah.
It got ugly.
I was shocked when I clicked through to see the picture, because he is fat, but I was, because of the comments in the article that they pulled, I was expecting him to be much larger.
Yeah.
And also, like, because they were talking about, like, him, he's obviously an American. So, like, I don't know if it's the whole, like, international perception of fatness
Americans
or something. I don't know. I was just surprised.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a belly and some chubby thighs. That's the extent of his massive obesity.
Related to the first article, I think part of it is that cycling attire is skin tight. There's, even if he's not quote unquote that fat, like, you see everything.
No, it's our responsibility as fat people to increase our air drag, apparently.
Yeah. Anyway, so the point of the article really is about delivering resources for people who might want to get into cycling.
Yeah.
And as we talk about this, I'm looking at the page they have on helping people find fat-friendly seats for the bikes. And
I thought that was the real benefit of the article.
Yeah, I've never had this.
You're talking about
like this before.
All bodies on bikes?
Yeah, all bodies on bikes. And it actually provides a link to another site called Life on Two Wheels.
And to put a pin in it, the only two comments on this particular article are both positive. So I feel like this is a pretty safe place to go investigate and not get slimed.
I also want to say that with this article and the last one we talked about, I think in the same way that what got us gay marriage was people coming out, people finally coming out and saying, like, well, you know me and I'm gay. And I think what this does is, like, fat people showing up in ordinary or sometimes extraordinary, circumstances, like winning races. People don't expect that. And I think it's sort of normalizing the fatter body, which is exactly what we need to push forward fat liberation and things like that. That, like, that fat people aren't relegated to, hunkered down eating ice cream in the middle of the night, which is where a lot. No, that's sort of the environment that people picture fat people. It's ridiculous. And that yes, we see fat people every day, but it comes with these assumptions, and these articles are breaking those assumptions, which I think is so necessary for what the next steps are.
Yeah, totally agree. All right, shall we mosey on down the road?
Yes, please take us there. You feel it?
2023.
We're soaring. Crisp autumn breeze in our air.
Yes.
Dead leaves and fireplaces. So in Mary Claire, we have Dove and Nike back, and Venus Williams. We're teaming up to help keep girls in sports.
And this is in Marie Claire magazine, right?
Yes.
And the subheading is low body confidence is the number one reason why teenage girls quit sports. And this coaching program that they're collaborating to start hopes to change that. And one of the main points they make is that the girls who did have a coach who was hands-on with them, who would help them sort of work through these issues and wasn't necessarily just addressing the sport itself, but everything that comes with participating in a sport, we're likelier to stay in that sport and have a better experience of it. So I think it's a really impressive initiative. Personally, I know, I don't think I ever thought about this at the time, but a lot of my like body shame issues do center around how I got started in sports, which is, you know, inherited from your parents, I think, in a lot of cases. And my dad's thing, you know, it was a very gentle thing, but it's very much like, if you want to be good at soccer, you got to go to the gym. You got to get in the gym and blah, blah, blah. And that was instantly the absolute like, okay, well, I'm never doing that. Yeah. Like, you know, if your dad says you should do it, nope, you're not going to. But on some level, I do kind of get this.
Well, and I was going to say, you know, what about boys in sports? Hello. I mean, I get it. Boys in sports is a cliche, but how many boys are pushed out of sports because they don't have the right body, they don't have the right killer instinct, they don't have the right whatever.
I was just kind of shocked by the specific statistic they gave of 41%. Of girls leaving the sport. Yeah, because of body image. I don't really expect Dove to solve everything, and a lot of I think Dove is going above and beyond.
Absolutely,
and I think Nike too. But I think it is interesting. And I mean, I think the reason we, don't see this with, boys and men is because boys and men are so far behind in having these conversations.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these conversations barely happen, so that it still is like to have a national conversation. Like, I don't really think we're there yet.
And I also think that the issue is a little different, at least in my experience, the issue is a little different between men and women. Like, when I was a teenager, I didn't have the option to leave sports. I don't know about you guys, but like
to leave
as a guy, like you were expected, you are going to continue participating in this. You don't like that sport, you better go find another one because you have to, you know. I ended up playing volleyball on the volleyball team for 2 years because I felt obligated and had to.
Weird. One thing I'd like to add to this, because we pivoted pretty quickly into what about the men, is there is a big difference between the female experience just in life in general. And one thing that I see all the time is, men mocking the women playing the same sport that they play.
Oh, yes.
And that doesn't happen the other way around.
Yeah.
That's very much the men looking at the women saying, look how inept you are. Look how slow you are. Look how terrible you look trying to do something you can't do.
Well, the whole cliche of throwing like a girl, running like a girl.
Yeah. And so there's a very different view of, if you choose to go join that world and play that sport, there's a lot of additional outside pressure. It's not just you in your head. It's a very real outside pressure that forces you into a box you don't necessarily want to be in, even if it comes with playing that sport.
I'm not trying to like, I don't know, what about, or be like, actually, Michael, but I think there is something interesting about female dominated sports that, men get flack for participating in because it's not manly.
Cheerleading,
ballet, figure skating.
Mm-hmm.
All of those things are such a like intense physical thing that are seen as not, because there's also grace to them, but they still require such endurance and balance and strength that I think a lot of like football players don't necessarily have. That it is an entirely different type of ability and strength that is looked down upon.
The initiative that Dove, Nike, and Venus Williams are teaming up for is super cool.
Yes.
And worthy of Fat Watch of this episode. So thank you.
I don't know. I think, not to get ahead of ourselves, this is, we're talking next year. Dove is looking pretty good for the chubbies, the 2024 chubbies.
That is true.
Yeah.
Dove's a front runner, I think, for sure. They've been doing a lot. All right. So off we go. Wheeling our way into the main topic. I don't know what that was.
We're wheeling.
That's
big wheel, keep on turning.
Yeah, we're tandem cycling our way into the main topic, because we're talking about the state of dating, the dating scene in the big fat gay world. We're going to share some dating stories, but I think also just sort of examining what the dating experience is like in a more blunt way, I think, than we've tried to sort of show, like, here's the rosy side of things. Here's what it can be. Here's things to do to kind of get to a better place. And sometimes we sort of gloss over the realities of that world. And we kind of wanted to tackle that and share some. I know I have a couple dating stories to share.
Do you think things have necessarily gotten better or worse, or do you think we're paying more attention to certain things? I'd be very curious to hear what y'all think.
That's interesting. I haven't done most of my dating experience came, in the early teens. So I don't necessarily have. I can tell you what it was like back then.
Like 2012, 2014.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and Don and I were talking about how it's very different. My dating as someone in an open relationship is extremely different than someone who is dating, as a single person. Mm-hmm. And they're not really, it's not really a fair comparison in many ways. But I mean, for my money, and again, granted, I've been in the scene since dinosaurs roamed the earth. I don't experience that much of a change. I do experience more of an awareness of things that are terrible.
Yes.
More of a greater awareness. But I think that's also come with everything that happened since 2020,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I will start us off because this is kind of what prompted this episode discussion on our main call. So I recently changed my profile picture on Bigger City.
Yeah.
I had a good picture before, but it was like from January or February. And I was seeing it and I actually thought of something that Edward, the founder of Bigger City, said at Bigger Vegas, which I think was maybe 2019. And he said, look at your profile picture. He's like, when is it from?
Yeah.
And is it from a week ago? Is it from 6 months ago? Is it from a year ago?
Is it from 10 years ago?
Yeah. And think about that picture and who are you in that picture?
Yes.
You're probably not the same person.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He actually, this was at a seminar that Bigger City did on its own. It wasn't one of mine. Mm-hmm. It was their, it was in the vein of, Bigger City is a site for personal ads. So what is working or not working about personal ads?
Yeah. So, I mean, my picture was still recent, still accurate, but I'm I've taken some saucy pictures lately that would be good profile pictures. So I updated it and I got an influx of messages, which I will say were mostly positive to, neutral. But there was one that stuck out as this is what's wrong with the community kind of thing.
Let's hear it.
It's great. It's fantastic.
So I have to get back to it.
I should always say why you're looking, Trevor, that if you're looking to gain new viewers, if you're looking to gain some traction on your ad, just post a new picture. Really, it's even if it's anything new, anything that's new will attract attention.
That's fair.
So I don't know. This is the tale as old as time kind of message. Wow, would I love to get behind that big ass and ride it? And this was from a picture of a headless torso. Mm-hmm. And their profile is looking for Chub Bottom. Discreet. If you are not in California or visiting the area, do not contact me. If I don't respond, you might not be a chub. Love a big thick ass and big tits. Tired of chasers contacting me. I'm a straight to the point type of person. Don't care for face pictures, nor do I share mine. That's not discreet. I only care to see ass pictures on here.
And I should say the picture, it's headless and it is of a completely ordinary thin body wearing an oversized white t-shirt. It could not be more generic or uninteresting.
Yeah, this is a closet case for sure.
Yeah.
But so, and I don't know, like I said,
Yeah. And this is not a
I don't mean to.
Let me underscore
Yes,
that
this is-
this letter that Trevor got, I can attest, is absolutely a normal average letter to get. And that photo is always the photo on the other side of
Yes.
that.
Or no photo, or no photo whatsoever.
Or no photo at all.
Yeah.
But what shocked me about all of it was I went to the photo and Bigger City has these features where you can like or heart or whatever things. And this had over 300 hearts. And it's a picture of basically of a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Of a thin guy in a t-shirt that's really too big for him.
It could be an Amazon ad for a shirt they're selling.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's
it's
really
that generic.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Trevor's point is 300 now granted, we don't know if that's 300 likes within a week or within 10 years.
Even within 10 years. I mean, it's not,
It's more than you think it's due.
Yeah.
But I think it points out the complete disequilibrium between, chasers feeling like they don't even have to try and they're entitled to get sex, and that the chub is somehow required to go through all these hoops to merit, to deserve the attention of a completely ordinary guy.
And think about the tone of that letter, right? Right from
Absolutely.
the tone all the way through is, you are inconsequential. Any desires you have in this situation doesn't matter to me. Don't ask me any questions. Don't ask me for any further information. Like, I have given you I've given you this, and this is what you get. You're done. You know, I'm like,
yeah. Well, and there's
how repulsive is that?
It's even worse. Absolutely. And there's even, Don, to underscore that, there's even a part of the ad that says, it's not that I'm in the closet, it's that you're not worth it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that, no, I'm not in the closet. It's just, I'm not interested in anything else.
Everything I am presenting is completely normal. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So can this may be quite obvious, but I think it's worth bringing up right now. There's a marked difference between having your profile because you want to date somebody and having your profile because you just want to hook up.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I think, having all of those different desires crammed into a single space makes a kind of sense because it is ultimately a niche community. But it also leads to stuff like this, where you get unwanted contact from somebody who's, I'm not saying that Trevor's looking to date, but that certainly Don is posing that side of the situation, and it's not unique to Trevor.
I think if they read the ad, right, if that person who was sending me that email read my ad, they would realize that the response they'd be getting. Because my ad is not, hi, show up at my place, bang me, right? Like, my ad is a dating ad. That is the tone I put forward. So it feels like you should know better.
Can I just say, I think what you're both pointing to is, I don't care what you're after. I don't care if you're after, 20 minutes of fist fucking or riding off in the sunset together. There's no reason to be disrespectful, rude, or condescending.
Yes, exactly.
But I mean, it's like, I don't know. Part of me, I guess, is like, I appreciate being straight to the point, but they clear, like the people with profiles like this clearly do not read the profiles they are messaging. Yeah. Because Don talks about like his profile does not Don's profile is not like sentient hole seeks filling. Like, and there was the other message I sent you guys that was like
episode title,
chaser for humongous asses. Yeah. And then sending me the message like, wow, I bet you have a humongous ass.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know what I was expecting from the message when I saw that name, but I don't think the guy who messaged me, who I'm kind of calling out, like, I don't mean to call him out, but I think it was the perfect textbook example of the worst kind of profile that guys complain about.
Well, and I think here's what I want to pitch into this, rather than simply despairing and wringing our hands over over stuff like this. I think there is a couple of things that one can do to keep one's mental state a little bit more on the positive side. One of this is that clearly, and look, this happens to me. This happens to other chasers. It happens to chubs. This idea of somebody not responding to who you are in your ad. Granted, there are people who don't put who they are in their ad, and that's quite deliberate. And I've teased a couple of guys, where they have like no profile, a terrible pic of like a body part. And I say like, really? Are and they're like, they want to get to know me. And I'm like, well, maybe I said, sweetie, your profile looks like you're in witness protection. And you need to come out from under that rock if you actually want to be in the business of getting to know people.
Yeah.
And so there's that. But I guess what I mean is, like, number one, it is, whether it's chubs or chasers, it is not personal when this happens. In fact, that's the very problem, right? It's not personal. Mm-hmm. So I have a certain license, I feel, to play with people like that. And I'll just say something like, thank you for your interest, but have you read my profile? And invariably they say yes, even though it's completely clear. Everything they've just said completely contradicts my profile. They invariably say yes. So then I follow up with, what part of my profile interested you? Right. And usually that's the last I hear of them.
Yeah.
And we're done.
Don, I'm curious. So you mentioned some frustration in our podcast call. So what is your like current app experience like, and just kind of general dating stuff? Like,
I right now, dating feels like an endurance sport. It's just been, you show up and God, I don't even know where to start. And I've tried. Yeah, I've tried to organize my thoughts for this. It's sort of like a lack of interest in who you are is a very pervasive sense I've been getting on dates, right? And if it's a hookup, that's fine. I get it. Like, you don't care who I am. You care how I'm dressed. That's it. Right. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm going out on dates and like people that are much more interested in, like, I'm a listener, right? But I expect to have there be an exchange of information. A complete lack of interest in who I am during a date, or telling me where I'm wrong on every step of the way is not a great way to know me.
Oh, that's an attractive trait.
Oh, very attractive. It's very clear with some of the guys that I've been going out with where they're like, the personality inside my body is an obstacle that needs to be overcome in order to get at my body. And I've been feeling at that a lot.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. On the one hand, it's not personal. On the other hand, that's the problem. It's not personal.
Yeah. If I didn't have so many strong platonic relationships in my life, I would be starting to have lots of complexes about feeling that I have an unattractive personality. That's the way I'm being treated by chasers. Like, I don't want to get into details, but like my last date, right? My last date, and this was a date, right? This was not a hookup, consisted of the guy basically demanding last minute, like, oh, I need you to come over to my neck of the woods. Oh, I'm like, okay, I can understand that. We both work, right? So they changed the plans last minute, demanding that I come to them rather than meeting at the location that we decided on.
Yeah.
When I get to the location, he spends half the date on the cell phone, right?
Oh, fuck off.
And then he is, let's say, sexually demanding.
Yeah.
A giving level of like 2 out of 10, right? And I'm like, but he worked so hard to get me there, and then after the fact, he like does the polite and like the lovely things as far as the follow-ups and wanting to do it again, and I'm like, what is going on? I
would love to opinionate on what is going on.
Okay,
for me, the first red flag. And this happens to me too, where they're like, oh, yeah, we could meet at that restaurant, or I could just come over there, or you could just come over here and we don't have to be in public.
Yeah.
That's
let me expand on this.
Sure.
This was a third date, right? So like we've been out in public multiple times. So that's not the issue here. But yeah, but I get what you're saying and agree with you 100%.
Yeah, that would be my first, like, okay. And I almost use meeting in public, because I've told guys, they're like, well, do we have to meet in public? I'm really not that comfortable. And again, I'm talking to a chub, right? So it's not just chasers. Yeah. And I mean, like, no, that doesn't fly with me. If you can't meet in public, you're not ready to do this. Yeah. And that's just what I say. I'm saying, it's fine. You're just not ready. Or I'll try to say, like, look, it's dinner. You've had dinner before in public. Don't worry. That's all it is. It's dinner. Relax. Mm-hmm. But when you're talking about this, yeah, I think it's more like he's sort of copping to, sorry, I'm not that interested, but I'm horny. Or I was horny when I made this happens all the time. I was horny when I made the date. If you're not interested,
I can deal with it.
No, but they don't know if they're interested, because sometimes people make a date when they're horny, and then by the time the date rolls around, they're not horny anymore, and they ghost, they cancel, they alter the plans so that it's self-serving.
So I'm just curious. So you had 2 other dates. Was there sex on those dates?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was wondering if it was the thing of
the third date.
Because the whole like third date, because like Dan and I have had this discussion with like straight people where like my thing, I don't know, as a gay man is like, if I have not had sex with someone by the third date, I assume, okay, this isn't going to be anything. Mm-hmm. Whereas what's that? You had the friend who like, I can't remember how long they said before they would have sex with someone.
10 dates or something.
Or it was like 3 months or something where it's like, God. I mean, that would just,
yeah, that's why I had to stop dating Amish guys.
Yeah, that's not a date. That's a pen pal. Yeah. It's funny because I used to think it's because I'm much older, and because in the old days, you primarily dated to hook up. You had sex to see who you wanted to date.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, like, has it changed with the younger generation? And Trevor is evidence of, like, no, he still expects sex by the third date, or we're going to be friends.
What I've even found is, like, going out on a date with someone, both of us sort of realizing, like, oh, we're not compatible dating wise. I guess we'll just have sex, and then we go our separate ways.
Yeah, sometimes. But I think it's like, I have definitely been in that situation where I was all hot and horny for a guy, and we've set up a date, and I know how to use a calendar, so I can set up a date for a week or two or a month later, because I get people have lives. By the way, please, people out there in podcast land, I recommend that strategy. Use a calendar to make dates.
Yeah.
Rather than, well, I'll see if I'm free that day. Well, you're not. You guarantee you won't be free that day.
I hate that.
I hate that, right? And it's a very LA thing too.
Whether it's sex or D&D.
Whether it's sex or D&D. Yeah. I don't know. I'll find out. When do you find out? When it happens. No, it's not going to happen.
No.
All right. So use a calendar. But I have definitely been in the situation where I was all hot and heavy when we were chatting online. And then days or weeks later, I'm supposed to show up for this date. And I've definitely been in the situation of, like, oh, I'm so not in the mood. Like, I was horny then. I'm not particularly horny now. I've had a long day or whatever. Doesn't fucking matter. Go to the date. You will get horny again because you got horny before. Believe me, it'll be fine.
Right.
You will get in the mood. Just
Give
keep
the
your
person a
commitments.
chance
And
to
keep your
turn you
commitments.
on.
Keep your commitments.
Yeah.
If nothing else, you can have a really great date talking about what happened to you that you're not in the mood, that had nothing to do with them. Like, you can actually have a conversation about life.
Yeah. Whatever it was that happened.
Yeah.
And put your damn cell phone down.
Oh,
Put your goddamn cell phone down. Maybe it's because I'm old, but, like, I get it. If it,
No, that's not acceptable.
I get it if you need, like, you hear the ding and, like, there's a text message you're waiting for, and you just check it and put it down, put it away. I get it. Life happens. But if you spend more than 5 minutes on your cell phone while we're on a date together, no, I'm done. I'm already checked out.
Now
at that
I'm curious, because clearly we all agree on that subject, but I'm curious if there are any Gen Zers that are like, oh, this is totally normal. No, you can spend 20 minutes on a date on your cell phone. That's fine. Like, are there people out there that really, like, is that a norm now?
Well, or is it just people it doesn't bother? I do have some suggestions for etiquette in that department, because I get that some people are more attached to their phone than others. Usually, and again, I used to teach this when I taught business communication. It is okay to have your cell phone out, but it should be face down on the table. So you're not always looking at it, but face down on the table. So it's not jamming you in the pocket. And especially if you're a big boy, you don't maybe want your cell phone in your pocket while you're seated. So your cell phone face down on the table, and you can see if it vibrates. And then here's the other thing that I recommend. If you can include the person you're with to some extent in that interruption. So, for example, Don and I are having a date, right? And my cell phone goes off. And I say, excuse me, just let me see if this is an emergency that I need to take care of. I flip the phone over. I look at it. Now, let's say, and usually it isn't, right? 99 times out of 100 is not an emergency, and I can just turn it back over and we go on with the date. Let's say it is. Let's say, oh my God, something happened and I need to respond to this. I can actually make that part of the date include Don, include my, who it is across the table from me, and say, oh my God, there's a situation at work. I just need to take care of this. One of two things: either leave the restaurant and take care of it and come back, or two, say, oh, this is happening. Like, make it part of the topic of conversation and how you're dealing with it. Like, I can say, oh my God, the person who's going to replace
a window into your life and share that with the person you're on the date with. What a concept. Yes.
Yeah. So I say, like, oh, the person who's going to replace me next week, can't make it. I'm going to tell them that I'm on a date and I'm going to get back to them later. Or I'm going to tell them that blah, 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 blah. So that I've included you.
You know what that tells me?
Thing.
That tells me that you are so interested in the date, right? That you're putting aside your work for the date, but you're doing it in a way that's responsible. Right.
Or that, like you said before, that I'm including you in my life and I'm giving you a window into that because I'm on a date with you.
Yep.
I've been on a date like that too. This was ages and ages ago. And the instant I met him, it was like, oh, hi, hey, how you do? And it was just like words after that. It was just like constant. And this was the first time I'd come across that before. And I was standing there thinking, I can't get a word in.
Yeah.
What's happening right now? What is this?
I call it having a date with the radio.
Yeah. And I couldn't, like, for the rest of that experience together. And eventually I was like, this is boring. Like, I don't need to be constant. I feel like people know me well enough that they know I don't need to be monologuing or like feeling like I'm the center of attention to enjoy myself. But when you're not there to them, then you're just not there. You don't have any reason to be there.
I'll be honest, something that I find even more exhausting is the one who won't talk. Like the one who is just comfortable with permanent silence. And then I feel obligated to fill it. And I'm like, and so I feel like a little kid offering subjects to, like, offering gifts to a parent. Like, can we talk? Would you look at me, please?
I have
what
had,
the fuck?
I'm Mr. Shy Boy a lot of the time. And I have had times where, like, when I am the talkative one, it is bad. And there was one time it was like, I was trying everything to get the guy to talk, and I was just rambling. And there was just a point in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I just felt like I was turning into my mother, because it was just this rambling, doddering, kept talking.
I want to underscore that, because I think I've looked back at how Trevor and I first met, and I think it is a fascinating examination of that type of personality, because you and I, way more so than we are now, were both like that. The shy, quiet, unassuming. And we got to know each other back in
2014, I think.
And it took a little bit to kind of establish a rapport for us. And I mean, certainly on the first date, like, we did have a lot of conversation, but I think it was because Trevor was very good at asking me about myself. Like, even if you were, maybe a little quieter generally, I think I was even quieter in that moment. But that got me to, like, I think the biggest piece of advice I have, because, we were both quite quiet people, was like, just stay in the moment. Like,
start a podcast.
Like, if you're like, I think the death of any kind of date is when you're so in your head, you're unaware of what's actually happening. You're either because you're overanalyzing, you're thinking which is totally my fault, is overthinking, overanalyzing. But if you're so in your head that you can't hear what other people are saying, you're never going to know how to ask them a follow-up question. You're never going to know how to ask them about themselves, because you won't remember what they've already shared with you. You won't remember what was in their profile, because you're sitting there thinking, oh my God, they haven't looked at me in the last 24 seconds. And what does that mean?
I have run into a couple of chubs I've dated where they were really bad at follow-up. It was me, like, I would volunteer some piece of information that I thought was relatively interesting, and thud, I stopped talking. There's the end of that, and that was the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
And there was no follow-up, and there's no follow-up. And I asked, and you know me, I'm, assertive. So I'll be like, so did that not interest you, or you had no follow-up to that? And this one guy said, like, well, I didn't want to be rude. I didn't want to intrude. Like, he thought a follow-up question would be prying.
Right.
Because he was raised in an environment where you don't ask questions about people. Yeah. That would be rude. That would be prying. Yeah. That'd be like, why are you asking me that?
I would be glad for that knowledge, though. Like, if like, oh, it's just you. It's just you. Okay.
Yeah. And and that's why, it's not like I'm a ball buster on a date, but sometimes when you ask, why is this happening? There's actually a pretty good reason why it's happening.
Yeah.
So we've come to a point where we're sort of realizing that we're just sort of scratching the surface of this topic. But it's a hard topic to stop at. So it's something we're going to come back to in the future. Maybe I'll have some different, like, I'm thinking about myself talking on this episode. And I'm very aware that I sound like the grumpy old man, like, these kids with their cell phones on dates. But right now, I'm also aware that I'm at a tired point dating wise. There's been a lot of endurance thrown at it over the past, COVID years. And I'm sort of thinking, like, right now, just for me, I might want to back off from dating for a little while. And maybe next time we talk about this, I'll have some fresh perspectives from a new angle. Who knows? But
I think Don is probably not alone in that. And we would love to get some listener perspectives, because we were saying we definitely want to revisit this. So I think it would be fun to come back with. I don't know. Don will have some more stories. We'll have some listener perspectives.
Yeah. I had a couple stories that I also didn't get to, which it didn't feel relevant in this particular episode, but I think we could definitely get to.
Well, I'd also like to invite listeners to tell us, what do you wish you did better on dates? Like you as a dater, what do you wish as a chub or a chaser you did better on dates, or you knew how to do at all on dates?
Yeah. I think that'd be great. So depending on how long it takes to kind of gather some more perspectives, we'll come back to this maybe December. We'll see.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
We might
mind
have
hearing
holiday
like some
episodes.
people's sort of like dream date ideas too.
Oh, sure. That'd be great.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
I also just want to close this out. I did get that message, but I have gotten with the new profile picture a lot of very nice messages, including a marriage proposal.
Oh, can you handle two of us, baby?
Someone's got
Somebody you had already knew, or just like a
No, some new guy who's like, come to Morocco, marry me.
Dan, I don't know. You've got some. You got some stuff to compete with now.
I know. I would totally be. I would be fine being part of Trevor's harem.
Also, a message from a British chaser who I can tell because by the way the message is written that they have a Cockney accent.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just delightful. Mister. He wrote Mister with an A. And it was like,
Oh, yeah, totally.
Well, it looks like
right.
we have a tip for today.
We do.
we certainly do. I just wanted to promote. NAFA has been doing these kind of seasonal virtual brunches, and we have coming up our fall virtual brunch hosted by Matthew Simcoe, featuring Danielle Garcia of Fashionably Famished. Danielle always does cool recipe demos, or sometimes like centerpiece demos.
Oh,
so like
nice.
if you for the holidays coming up, if you
Learn
maybe,
how to bring those fall vibes into full bloom.
yes, and our entertainer for this event is Tammy Johnson, who is a belly dancer. So
Oh.
maybe you'll get some inspiration for some vibes to bring to your Thanksgiving meal.
How to how to woo the chasers.
Yes.
And this is just in a few days, right? On
Yeah.
Saturday, November 11th.
Yes, at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Nice.
You can register on the NAFA website, and we will link it in our episode description.
Which here in the States is Veterans Day, apropos of absolutely nothing.
So since today's episode dealt with dating, I thought that we should have a bit that dealt with dating. And I thought maybe
Don with
we
his
should
wacky ideas.
we should go back to our wonderful game that we all played in various sleepovers at some point. Of since we are the nicer, kinder, gentler version of this game, though, we're going to be playing Marry, Fuck, Ask Politely to Leave. All right. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with the game, what
As
that
I
means
am.
is I'm going to offer you 3 names of different people. You're going to have to tell me which of them that you would like to marry, which of them you would fuck, and which of them you would ask politely to leave. You must do one of each. So you can't marry all 3. So I'm going to give you a traditional trinity up front, right? This is more for Trevor and I, but it'll give you the idea. Trevor, marry, fuck, ask politely to leave, Brad Pitt, Ryan Reynolds, Henry Cavill.
Ooh.
Oh, I already know the answer to this one. There is a correct answer.
Marry Ryan Reynolds,
Boo.
fuck Henry Cavill, and ask Brad Pitt to leave politely.
I think you got Ryan and Henry mixed up. I think Henry would be so much fun to be married to because he's such a nerd. He has so many hobbies that he likes. He gets all into. And
I'm just
I
very
don't-
curious. I'm just anxious to see who I get to share the bed with Trevor. That sounds exciting.
Dan, do you have an opinion on the subject?
I don't.
Okay.
They're all hot. They're all hot. Whatever. I don't care.
Fair enough. All right. Our second grouping, marry, fuck, ask politely to leave, James Gandolfini, Paul Walter Hauser, David Harbour.
Oh dear.
oh boy. All right. I think I've got this. I think it's marry James Gandolfini, fuck Paul Walter Hauser, and I'm sorry, David Harbour. You seem lovely, but I only have 1/3 option, so get out.
Yeah.
Dan?
No.
This to be fair to Dan, this is like his worst nightmare right now.
This is my worst nightmare. It's like this is who shows up at the Chubb bar, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going home with anybody.
If you're looking to hang out with Dan, don't open with Marry Fuck Kill.
Yeah, and don't give me a choice of 3 bears. I would say I would ask James Gandolfini to leave. I would marry Paul Walter Hauser, and I guess David Harbour and I could, make out.
All right. Do you have any opinions on this one, Trevor?
I guess maybe marry James Gandolfini, fuck David Harbour, and ask Paul Walter Hauser to leave.
All right. So this next grouping 3, this was the hard one. This one applies to all of us. All right.
Okay.
In their prime, as you define it, fuck, marry, ask politely to leave, Chris Pratt, Russell Crowe, Brendan Fraser.
Oh.
Ugh.
Oh boy.
Honestly, I like this combo a lot better than the previous one I just tried.
Well, let's start with you then.
Maybe
Dan.
I should go first. Okay, Russell Crowe, politely to leave.
Okay.
Chris Pratt, totally fuck. And then Brendan Fraser, marry.
All right.
Interesting.
Trevor.
So I guess marry Chris Pratt for that Marvel money.
He does have
He does have the Marvel money.
I would say, I guess fuck Brendan Fraser in George of the Jungle era.
Yes, please.
And Russell Crowe, just bye.
Yeah. Russell Crowe can get out. I think marry Chris Pratt because I think he would be more just funny to be around. If you have to be around him long term, I think he would just be charming and entertaining. And Brendan Fraser, fuck, I guess current day Brendan Fraser, maybe 2 years ago.
It's interesting. Did any of us pick Russell Crowe as anything but ask politely to leave? No? Okay.
don't
I
think
tried.
so.
I tried.
No, that's pretty much a no-brainer.
Yeah,
No,
I'm going to
no,
ask
I
Russell
think-
Crowe to leave. I'm definitely a fuck Chris Pratt and definitely marry Brendan Fraser because he turned out to be an awesome person.
I think so.
So I think the Chris Pratt's a little too Christian for me. I think
Is he Christian?
he's very
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah,
he belongs to a
I
homophobic
rescind
Christian church.
I rescind my answer. Swap.
But
them.
you can divorce. You just have to marry him.
Yeah,
but
never
he's
been that.
Christian. You can't divorce it. Oh no, that's Catholics. Never mind. All right.
I don't know. I would just be off on my private Pratt jet. Where can you find me, listener?
Okay. Hold on.
Riding Chris Pratt on the Pratt jet. All right. So, dear listener, do you have a marry, fuck, ask politely to leave combo that you would like to ask us about? Where could they do that, Trevor?
Well, we're on Instagram and Twitter as @BigFatGayPod. We're on Facebook as the Big Fat Gay Podcast. Leave us 5 stars there. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Everywhere. Spotify too. Support us on Patreon at patreon.com/BigFatGayPod. And see the articles we talked about at www.bigfatgaypod.com. Maybe you are scrolling through Bigger City and you see our ad because we have ads on there.
We do.
And you click on it, but it's not a normal ad. It's a special ad, and it takes you. You're in the Matrix, but it's the Big Fat Gay Matrix, and Michael's Neo, and he's firing bullets at you, and you got to go bullet speed. So,
Whoa.